The city forgot his name, but the streets never did. Every whisper, every deal, every drop of blood still echoes his story. Ghost was supposed to be gone, buried under secrets, lies, and the ashes of his own empire. But power? Power never dies. It just hides until the right moment to rise again. It's early morning in New York. The kind of morning where the air feels heavy with something unsaid. The streets are empty, but you can feel the pulse of the city waiting to explode. The rain falls slow, washing away the dirt, the sins, and the memories that refuse to fade. A car engine hums somewhere in the distance, then stops. Doors stay closed. Windows stay shut. Everyone knows silence means something is coming. The world moved on after Ghost. Or at least that's what they told themselves. New faces tried to take his place, tried to wear his crown. But none of them could fill the space he left behind. His name still lingers in the dark corners of the city, whispered like a prayer and a warning at the same time. They say he was ruthless. They say he was smart. They say he had a plan even death couldn't stop. Inside old buildings and forgotten bars, people still talk about him. They say Ghost didn't die. He just went quiet. Like a storm holding its breath before breaking loose again. You can almost hear him in the static of an old radio, in the wind rushing through the alleys. You can almost feel him watching, waiting. The city looks different now, more glass, less soul. The ones who used to fear him now sit behind desks and wear suits, pretending they built their power on clean hands. But they didn't. They built it on the blood he spilled, the loyalty he broke, and the empire he carved out of nothing. Every brick of this city still owes him something. And somewhere out there, a shadow moves again. No face, no sound, just presence. The kind that chills your spine before you even know why. The storm isn't here yet, but you can taste it in the air. You can feel the streets start to remember. You can feel the ghosts waking up. The silence stretches, like a breath being held too long. Then a flicker of light in a window, a hum of electricity, a sign that something is alive again. The city doesn't know it yet, but it's about to remember who made it bleed. Ghost isn't back for revenge. He's back for legacy. Time doesn't bury legends. It only hides them beneath new lies. The city pretends to move on, pretending Ghost was just another name on the news, another crime story fading into the noise. But memory doesn't fade that easily. It sits deep, like a scar under the skin, quiet, invisible, but always there when you touch it. His story still moves through these streets, through the whispers of people who saw too much, through the eyes of kids who grew up wanting to be him and fearing what that meant. The world remembers Ghost in fragments. The smoke curling from a burning club, the echo of a gunshot at midnight, the smell of money and blood mixing in the same room. He built an empire from nothing, no family name, no safety net, no rules. Just hunger. The kind of hunger that doesn't stop even when you've eaten. The kind of hunger that turns men into myths. He made moves no one else could see. He made enemies no one could escape. And when they thought they'd finally caught him, he smiled, as if he knew something the rest of them didn't. Maybe he did. Maybe he always knew that power doesn't end, it only changes hands. Every corner still carries his fingerprints. The old club he owned, burned to the ground, but the foundation still smells like smoke. The office, where he signed his first deal, boarded up, but the walls still whisper the deals made in the dark. And that penthouse, the one with the skyline views, still flickers with lights at 3 a.m. Nobody lives there. Nobody dares. Yet, somehow, that window never stays dark for long. Some say it's a ghost story. Others say it's a message. The truth, maybe it's both. Ghost wasn't just a man. He was a system, a language, a code. Even now, his old soldiers still move in silence, following rules he wrote years ago. They don't wear chains or flash money anymore. They move like shadows, spreading influence where it matters. Banks, politics, real estate. Power wears a different suit now, but it still speaks his name. The city doesn't even realize it's still playing his game. People talk about his death like it was an ending. But it was really the beginning of something worse. When a man like Ghost disappears, the void he leaves doesn't stay empty, it pulls everything toward it. Ambition, fear, greed. Every hustler with a dream tried to fill it. And every one of them failed. Because Ghost wasn't chasing money, he was chasing control. Control over time, over loyalty, over destiny. And that kind of hunger can't die. It just changes form. Sometimes, in the dark, when the streets are quiet and the air feels too still, you can feel it again, that same pulse, that same energy. Like the city is breathing in sync with him. Like his heart never stopped beating. There are stories that say he left things behind. Safes no one could open. Messages no one could decode. money that still moves between hands like a ghost of its own. No one knows what he built in the shadows before he vanished, but whatever it was, it's starting to wake up now. Faces you've never seen are showing up in places that used to be his. Old enemies are nervous again. Old friends are silent. Something is shifting. Something big. You can feel it in the rhythm of the streets, in the deals happening at 2 a.m., in the sudden disappearances no one talks about. The legacy isn't just Alivit's evolving. Ghost taught them all that power doesn't scream, it whispers. And somewhere, deep in that whisper, his voice still speaks. They thought they killed the man, but you can't kill a blueprint. You can't kill a system that taught people how to win, how to survive, how to rule. His story isn't a memory, it's a prophecy. And the city is just starting to understand what that means. Ghost isn't gone. He's everywhere. In every move. In every fear. In every silent deal that keeps the city breathing. His empire didn't die, it learned to live without him. And now, the air feels heavy again. The same way it did before he rose the first time. History is looping back. The same streets that crowned him once are preparing for his return. Not the man, not the body, but the idea, the energy, the legend that refuses to rest. The streets know it. The city feels it. Ghost's legacy isn't fading, it's waking up. Every generation believes it's different. They think the old rules don't apply anymore, that the streets have changed, that power looks cleaner now. But the truth never changes. Power still belongs to the ones willing to lose everything to keep it. And that Ghost's lesson runs deeper than blood. Now, new faces move through the same city, but they do it smarter. They wear suits instead of hoodies, talk numbers instead of threats, and build their empires with contracts instead of guns. But behind every polished deal, there's the same pulse that kept Ghost alive, the rhythm of survival. The young ones don't remember his face, but they follow his code without knowing it. They move in silence. They never show emotion. They make loyalty sound like business, and betrayal look like strategy. They are Ghost's children, even if they don't know his name. In dark apartments with tinted windows, deals are whispered, not shouted. Hands shake in shadows. Money moves without names attached. Everyone's trying to claim a piece of the city, but no one realizes they're just walking the same path Ghost carved years ago. The new hustlers think they're building something new, but they're only breathing life into an old ghost. Every move they make, every risk they take, it's all part of his design. His rules still run the game, even if they think they changed it. There's one name rising above the rest, a young boss with quiet confidence and eyes that see too much. He doesn't brag, he doesn't post, he just builds. Some call him the new era. Others whisper, he's the one who found Ghost's hidden files. The codes, the blueprints, the maps no one was supposed to see. Maybe he didn't find them. Maybe they found him. Because when power chooses someone, it doesn't ask, it takes. And now, he's moving like Ghost used to move. Patient, dangerous, untouchable. His crew isn't like the old ones. No flashy chains, no loud violence. They move like smoke everywhere and nowhere. A lawyer here, a hacker there, a politician's assistant who never looks up from her phone. Ghost taught the world that real power doesn't need to be seen, and this new generation learned that lesson perfectly. They don't need to be famous, they need to be in control. The kind of control that makes others dance without realizing who's pulling the strings. Still, something feels different this time. The air around them carries weight. There's tension between loyalty and ambition, between respect and hunger. The young boss preaches Ghost's code, but he's not Ghost. He's faster, colder, and maybe even smarter. Yet he doesn't understand what Ghost did, the price that comes with power. Ghost didn't just rule the streets. He fed them. He understood fear. He respected loyalty. This new generation only understands winning, and that difference might destroy them. The streets are watching again. Old names are starting to surface. Men who disappeared years ago are suddenly back in the game. The ones who knew Ghost personally, the ones who saw what power cost him, now see history repeating itself. They shake their heads and say, they learned everything, except the ending. Because Ghost's rise was beautiful, but his fall was bloody, and those who follow his path are walking straight toward the same fire. Whispers say the young boss is building something massive, something that could change the city again. But every move he makes wakes up the past a little more. The same connections, the same enemies, the same shadows start to breathe again. The city isn't built for peace, it's built for cycles. And right now, the cycle is turning. You can almost feel the energy shift. The streets hum like they're alive again. Cameras catch glimpses of cars that shouldn't be there. People seen where they shouldn't be. Someone's moving the pieces. Someone's guiding it all from the dark. And just like that, Ghost's name returns to the whispers. Not as a story, as a presence. They say the new boss isn't working alone. They say he's getting help from someone who knows every corner, every deal, every rule, someone who built the game itself. Nobody believes it, but nobody can explain how he's always one step ahead. How he moves like someone who's already lived it once before. Every deal sealed. Every rival crushed. Every quiet victory feels like déjà vu. Like the city's playing an old song again. A song written by Ghost himself. The new generation thinks they're writing their own story, but they're not. They're performing a sequel that was written long before they arrived. They're the next verse in Ghost's symphony of power. The game didn't change, just found new players. And as they rise higher, they don't realize they're climbing the same ladder Ghost once built. With the same cracks waiting to break. The new blood might have fresh faces, sharper tools, and colder hearts, but they're still playing by old rules. Ghost's rules. And somewhere, out there in the silence between sirens, someone's watching them with a smile. Because the legacy isn't done, it's only changing hands. The city belongs to the bold, and the bold still belong to Ghost. The night doesn't announce legends, it just lets them return. No warning, no fireworks. Just a quiet shift in the air that makes the city pause. That's how Ghosts came back, not with noise, but with silence that felt louder than any gunshot. One night, the streets were moving, like usual, hustlers trading numbers, dealers pushing dreams, bosses counting money, and then something changed. Something small, almost invisible. A code on a phone, a transfer from an old, inactive account. A message that simply said, "It's time." Nobody believed it at first. Ghost was a story, a myth that people used to make themselves feel strong. But stories don't send real money. Myths don't move real men. And yet, suddenly, the people who once stood beside him started getting quiet calls. Numbers they deleted years ago came back alive. Voices they hadn't heard since the fire were whispering again. The same voices that used to run the city. They didn't ask questions, they just listened. Because when Ghost speaks, you don't talk. You act. The city moved different that night. Cameras caught cars driving through neighborhoods no one visited anymore. Lights turned on in buildings that had been dark for years. One by one, the old safe houses woke up, like a machine coming back online. Somewhere deep underground, servers buzzed back to life. Passwords no one could ever crack started unlocking themselves. It was like watching the past resurrect itself, piece by piece. And in the middle of it all, there was that name again, Ghost, appearing in coded messages, encrypted networks, and untraceable signals, like he never left, like he'd been watching the whole time. Those who once called him brother didn't know how to feel fear, respect, guilt. Some wanted to run. Some wanted to prove themselves. Some just wanted to see if it was really him. But deep down, everyone knew. You don't fake a presence like Ghost's. You don't imitate a shadow that heavy. The way he moved in scene, but everywhere felt exactly the same. Every street corner started to whisper again. Every hustler started to listen again. The city wasn't breathing freely anymore. It was holding its breath. And then came the proof. A meeting, not an announcement, not a threat, a message that traveled through back channels and found its way to the right ears. Midnight, Warehouse 23. No names, no phones. Those who went didn't speak afterward, but the ones who didn't go, they felt the shift anyway. Deals started breaking. Loyalties started bending. Fear started to taste familiar again. Some say they saw him that night, a figure standing under a single flickering light. Wearing black, silent, Tom. No one saw his face. They say he didn't have to speak. Just his presence was enough. The air got heavier, colder. A few seconds felt like forever. And then he said one thing. Just one. "I told you power doesn't die." After that, he disappeared. The lights cut out. When they came back on, he was gone. But every man in that room walked out different. Because now, it wasn't rumor anymore. It was reality. Ghost was back. The next day, the whole city moved like it had seen a ghost. Rival crews started canceling shipments. Politicians who thought they were untouchable suddenly backed out of deals. Reporters got anonymous tips and dropped their stories overnight. Every move felt calculated. Every decision felt like someone else was pulling the strings. The same old feeling was back, the invisible control that only one man ever had. Ghost wasn't just alive. He was already winning. But this time, he wasn't the same man. The old Ghost built an empire out of chaos. The new one moves with precision. No emotion, no attachments, just purpose. He's not trying to prove anything anymore. He's not chasing revenge, he's reclaiming what was always his. Power isn't about owning the city, it's about owning the fear that keeps it running. And Ghost owns that fear like a trademark. The young ones don't understand what's happening yet. They think they're being hunted by someone new. They think this is a takeover. They don't realize it's a homecoming. Ghost isn't coming for them. He's coming through them. They're part of the plan now, even if they don't see it. The blueprint he left years ago wasn't finished, it was waiting for him to return and complete it. Now the balance is gone. Everyone's watching shadows again. Every man who built something after Ghost is checking over his shoulder. Every woman who betrayed him is locking her doors. The streets, the clubs, the towers, all of them feel smaller now, like the whole city's being swallowed by a memory. And in the middle of it all, the legend walks again, faceless, untouchable, inevitable. They thought he died. They buried his name under dust and greed. But legends don't stay dead. They wait. And when the world forgets, they rise again to remind it who really built the throne. The streets belong to the bold, but the bold belong to fear. And fear, in this city, has only one name: Ghost. The city doesn't sleep, it watches. Every alleyway, every rooftop, every cracked billboard remembers the hands that built it, the blood that soaked it, and the ghosts that owned it. After Ghost's return, the streets stopped pretending. The quiet turned into a heartbeat, steady and heavy, echoing through concrete veins. You could feel it under your shoes, that low vibration of power coming back to life. The kind that makes even the toughest men glance over their shoulders. Something ancient had awakened. Something the city thought it buried. Old debts rise before dawn. Names long forgotten start showing up again. Men who once betrayed Ghost now walk with caution, like the air itself might judge them. There's no announcement, no headline, no proof. Just a pattern: money vanishing from accounts, corners shifting control, and silence where there used to be noise. Everyone knows what that means. The city's balance is tilting back to the hands of the one who wrote its rules. The streets remember their maker. Whispers flood the night like smoke. He's back, he's moving again, he never left, each version more terrifying than the last. They say Ghost doesn't need to be seen to be felt. That's how legends work, they turn fear into language. Kids too young to know his face still flinch at his name. The word ghost has become its own warning, not a person anymore, but an energy that moves through people, bending them to its rhythm. Old crew members start showing up in places they shouldn't. One sits in a diner that used to be neutral ground, staring at the door, waiting. Another sends cryptic messages, coordinates, times, short phrases like "we're rebuilding." The city's undercurrent buzzes louder. No one can tell who's running what anymore. The game that used to have 100 small kings now feels like it's being played by one invisible hand. And that's when people start realizing it's not about Ghost coming back. It's about Ghost never leaving, but the return of power brings chaos with it. Rival bosses panic. Lines once drawn in blood start to blur. Deals collapse, territories crumble, and men once feared start begging for protection. The new generation thought they understood control, but control isn't about holding something, it's about making others afraid to lose it. Ghost's influence spreads faster than fire. Nobody sees him, yet everyone feels owned. The city becomes one big chessboard again, and every piece moves like it's being touched by memory. The nights get darker. Not because the lights are out, but because the shadows grow thicker. Every siren feels slower, every whisper louder. The old heads drink in silence, remembering what it felt like when Ghost ruled. They remember the rules: no chaos without purpose, no violence without order. And deep down, they miss it. They miss the certainty, the structure, because even when Ghost ruled through fear, at least the city knew who it belonged to. The new ones, though they don't understand. They think they can outsmart a Ghost. They think they can rewrite the game with new technology, new alliances, new money. But you can't code loyalty. You can't digitize respect.